Hmm? Ah! This is the Good Omens podcast on TV Podcast Industries in association with Podcastica. This time we're talking about Season 2, Chapter 5, The Ball.
He's never hosted a meeting, ever. Why the change of heart?
He's unpredictable. He's discovered his civic obligations.
You've been together long?
Who?
You and your partner?
Oh, no, it's not like that.
It certainly looks like that from here. Well, so you've just recently hooked up?
No,
You got a husband or a boyfriend? Is the bookseller your bit on the side?
He's not my bit on the side. He's far too pure of heart to be anybody's bit on the side. He's just an angel. I know.
You say so? And then again, other people's love lives all seem so much more straightforward than our own.
Welcome back, fellow angels and demons, to the Good Omens podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're talking about Season 2, Chapter 5, the penultimate episode, The Ball. I'm one of your hosts, Derek, and I'm joined, as always, by my ineffable fiancé, John.
Hello there, fellow acolytes, angels and demons. Yes, great to be back for The Ball.
Absolutely. I'm a seamstress. I'm a seamstress.
Well,
why can't I just say I'm a seamstress?
Excellent stuff.
Brilliant, Jake.
Yes.
Loved it.
Although we may need to discuss things after this podcast, if you're a seamstress.
Oh, that's true, yes. I probably should have told you, John, I'm a seamstress. Anyway, yes, time to get into our discussion about the penultimate episode of Good Omens, 5 weeks in and 5 episodes in to this second season of Good Omens. It's been a lot of fun.
Exactly. For anyone just joining, or for anyone who comes a little later in the day to Good Omens, you can, of course, subscribe to the podcast over at tvpodcastindustries.com. And, of course, we are over on the old socials. Twitter, or as it's now known as the Death Star, we are at TV Pod Industries. Our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries. And of course, you can get in contact with us by email through feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com for anything to do with any of the podcasts that we're covering, or in particular for Good Omens, any thoughts, theories, comments, observations on what transpires in each and every episode.
Absolutely. We'd also love to hear your thoughts about the finale and the entirety of Season 2 of Good Omens, so get us over there. We are also available on podcastica.com exclusively for Good Omens, so if you're only following us over there for Good Omens, make sure you do subscribe to the main feed on TV Podcast Industries, because we got loads more stuff coming up this year. Lots of stuff crossing over at the same time as other stuff as well, as we go out to the rest of the year. So come join us for all the other stuff we'll be chatting about.
Yes, we are about to get into Ahsoka as well, Star Wars Ahsoka, which does have a mini little tie-in with Good Omens, strange as it may seem.
It does. I got a big smile on my face when I saw that little connection. The episodes, the first 2 episodes are out now over on Disney Plus. So if you haven't checked those out, check them out. And you should find our podcast on the first 2 episodes in TV Podcast Industries right about now.
Yes, and wheeling its way into view as well from the start of September is our coverage of The Wheel of Time Season 2. What will our hunky Randy Rand, the titular hero of the piece, what will he be doing in Season 2? We certainly have seen him with his shirt off.
We have.
Looks like he's being flayed, but nonetheless, he does have his shirt off.
That is in images from the show. It's not just that we've seen him with his shirt off.
No, it's in the trailer.
Okay.
It's akin to Geralt having a bath, I guess.
In The Witcher.
Yes.
Oh, they're different shows. so many shows. But let's get back to Good Omens as well.
Yes, let us get into our spoiler-filled discussion. Derek, who gave us what, when, where, how, why, and whatever.
Well, it's a really easy one this time, as there's no mini-sode, as you probably noticed.
Clutching pearls?
Yes, so really simply, this episode was written for television by Neil Gaiman and John Finnemore, from the original characters based on Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, and this episode once again directed by Douglas McKinnon.
Good stuff.
So, John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for Good Omens Season 2, Chapter 5, The Ball?
Sure. On the day of the Whickber Street Traders and Shopkeepers Association monthly meeting, Aziraphale, with an increasingly impatient, bored and bemused Crowley tagging along, gathers together the local residents, offering rare and unique books to encourage everyone to join in. He uses a small miracle to transform the meeting into a Regency-style ball, hoping the Jane Austen-inspired atmosphere will get Maggie and Nina together. Meanwhile, in Hell, Shax prepares to storm Aziraphale's bookshop as she requisitions a legion of Hell's finest demons from Furfur. The horde of 10,000 soon gets whittled down to 1,000, a bit further down to 500 demons, until an agreement lands on 100, which actually becomes 70. As Shax tries to rally her mini-horde, she encounters an irritatingly inquisitive demon called Eric, who just keeps asking questions until he's vaporized to dust by Shax. Just as it couldn't get any worse, Shax learns that the big transporter up to Earth is out of action, and they must instead take the stairs. Leaving Aziraphale to his tasks in advance of the Night to Remember, Crowley confronts Jim, short for James, short for Gabriel, about who he really is and what happened to him. He learns that Gabriel's mind and memories were first in a matchbox and then transferred to the cardboard box he was carrying when he arrived at Aziraphale's shop. As the humans dance, Shax arrives with 1/75th of a legion of demons and prepares to storm the bookshop, but cannot cross the threshold as they have not been invited in. Shax threatens to kill all the humans in the shop unless they surrender Gabriel. Jim understands that it's him they want and tries to surrender himself, but Aziraphale and Crowley's earlier miracle prevents the demons from recognizing him, and they continue to threaten the bookshop and the humans inside. While Aziraphale protects the bookshop, Crowley evacuates most of the human guests, then forces the human officer, Inspector Constable Muriel, to arrest him and bring him to heaven to put an end to all of the shenanigans.
But will he succeed? I guess we'll find that one out in the finale.
Exactly. Yeah. And Shax did spot the small transporter which she took. She did spot that heading upwards rather than downwards.
Yes, she did. Can Shax travel to heaven? Probably not, but but she may get on the grapevine.
Well, if Crowley can, she may be able to as well.
Yep, but that's all for next week. This time we're going to talk about our major signs of the apocalypse, or our favourite moments from this episode. We kick off right at the beginning with Shax and her 70 demons.
Yes.
And Aziraphale and his street traders.
Yeah, definitely.
Two kind of different ways of getting together groups here, I suppose. So they're kind of connected, aren't they?
Absolutely love this opening. I loved how it just intertwined with one another. I absolutely adored Miranda Richardson in this episode.
Yep.
She made me laugh so hard. I loved the whole, just the horde of demons with Furfur going from 10,000 ultimately down to 100, but a few have dropped off now, and I can actually only give you 70.
That's great.
It was just absolute pure heaven.
And good to have Reese Shearsmith back for this one. I thought it was all going to be about the League of Gentlemen episode. That was his appearance last week. So good to have Furfur back here in this episode as well. But I love the incredulity from him when she says, I want 10,000 of your finest bloodthirsty demons. And he's like, hang on a second, I thought you said 10,000. So it seems like Hell doesn't actually get as many demons into it as you would expect.
It seems
a lot less foot soldiers than you'd expect.
Exactly. And that's what was so, you just think of this infinite evil, and then you realize that there are resource constraints going on. And I just love that. I just love how it normalizes sort of that, the grandeur of heaven or the obscenity of hell. It's just really, really good. I just loved how this interplayed then with Aziraphale trying to get all the traders to attend, because half of them are bored of any of those meetings or have had really bad experiences. And
doesn't the guy in the music shop says, I was at one of these meetings, monthly meeting, remember? I was at one of them 10 years ago where they talked about Christmas lights and never went back.
Exactly. And I'm guessing it may have been Nina, because Nina is wanting to bring up the Christmas lights on the agenda as well. I loved how, there's the great moment with Aziraphale speaking fluent Mandarin and then doing real kind of British French. With
true.
Crowley just looking on going, why are you speaking like that? You are fluent in French.
You know every language in the world, like I do. Why can't you get French?
And it is that kind of nod, I guess, to things like Allo Allo, where it's just the French is hammed up. It is the regionalized English accent giving just speaking in French with no French accent.
It's either that or a commentary on the fact that it is basically your closest neighbour to the UK, the foreign language speaking neighbour, I suppose, to the UK, and you still can't teach students to speak it very well. I learned French in school as well. It's very similar type of French that Aziraphale speaking here. I kind of know it, but and when I speak it, people instantly ask me to speak in English. Our friend Phil, who's been living in Paris for almost 10 years now, isn't he? 9 years now, who people still recognise that he's from Yorkshire the minute he speaks in his French accent.
But he is good in French.
He's much better at French
exactly.
than I am. Yes.
So I loved how this interplayed between the two, and coming back to Shax, who's trying to rally her sort of threadbare 70 demons, and you have this nice throwback to Monty Python with her being interrupted by the demon Eric.
It really does feel like a Monty Python gag, doesn't it?
Just like, well, this isn't really a horde or a legion.
A legion, yes.
How many are in a legion? And then it's like, we've heard that we might be facing angels, all this kind of stuff.
And that's a little callback to when she talks to Furfur. She says, don't tell anybody, we could have angels here. Don't tell anybody at all. And then Eric instantly says, we were all told by Furfur that we're going up against angels.
And Miranda Richardson and the actor who plays Eric the demon just are so on point with just their expressions, how it just the pitter patter of the two of them interacting really good. You just sense Shax getting more and more irritated, and then the big transporter for her 175th horde of demons ultimately is out of action, broken down, so they've got to take the stairs, except for her, who takes the small transporter.
Absolutely. I love the reveal as she comes out of the transporter on her own after all the rest of the demons have run up the stairs. It's just a good little, little gag.
And the small transporter, comes out at the Dirty Donkey pub.
Just outside, yeah.
Well, it's part of it.
Oh, it is. Yes, it is. That's right. That's a good little touch there. I didn't catch that when we saw the episode, though. Yeah,
so I love this because this is all prior to the opening credits, and it really did for me just set the tone for this episode. Yeah. Just the silliness of what Aziraphale is doing in terms of to try and get two modern ladies together. By hosting a Jane Austen-inspired ball with Shax believing in her own grandiose plan with the acceptance and the command of the knowing Beelzebub, and in the end, she's thwarted by, human resources, I guess, in Furfur. So I just loved this. I just thought it was silly.
Yeah.
Really and totally on point.
Yep, really good. I just love her delivery of her line, like as if she's Sauron on top of Orthanc, isn't it? In Lord of the Rings, where he's commanding his army and she's commanding her army of 69 to go and destroy a bookshop in London. It's just the way she underlines how her big grandiose plan is, you say, but it turns out it's a bookshop.
Exactly. And certainly later on as well, for any of our listeners who are not au fait with Blackadder, the season 2, to me, she was just channeling her inner Queenie.
Yes,
as Queen Elizabeth I, from Blackadder 2, and it was sublime.
Yeah.
I love her in Blackadder 2 as Queenie.
Yep.
And
just waiting for her to stomp her feet and asks for presents. Yes.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Yeah, great opening point there. Will we talk about our second sign of the apocalypse a little bit more, connected to the overarching story of Jim? So Crowley confronts Jim This is after he's had the discussion with Nina, where she points out that that she believes that he and Aziraphale are together, right?
Yes, they're an item, or it's Aziraphale as Crowley's bit on the side.
He's way too pure to be anyone's bit on the side, says Crowley. I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he goes in and confronts Gabriel about who he is, why he is this character of Jim that he's created. And the big reason why he's so angry at Gabriel and really doesn't like Gabriel at all is back to the end of the first season when Crowley was impersonating Aziraphale in heaven. And there was the interaction between the two of them where Gabriel just wanted Aziraphale to shut his stupid face and die. And now Aziraphale is going to risk his life for Gabriel because, firstly, he wasn't there in heaven. It was Crowley that was there. So he doesn't know the interaction between the two of them. But Aziraphale, of course, would sacrifice himself.
Well, that's Gabriel. It. And I mean, I really like actually how, this is really where you see kind of Crowley's demon side, I think, in his interactions with Gabriel, because he just does not like him. And it is only because of his relationship with Aziraphale that he hasn't done anything. You see this kind of play out in miniature here as well, in the sense that, when Gabriel is confronted by Crowley, who says he wasn't there to hear what you said, but I didn't care for it, point out he's actually now risking his entire existence for you, but you have no idea. So he wants to know more. And this is where we learn about the resurrectionist matchbox, that held his memories, his mind, and then he thought it was in his box. Unless it's that fly buzzing around, which
Could
somehow
be.
needs to kind of do something by crawling down his ear passage or something into his brain to give him back his memories. But he does say he's not able to contain the information that he thinks he knows or should know, the all-seeing, all-knowing archangel. And here Crowley is effectively about to ask him to jump out of the window. And then he's kind of like, no, and it ends up with, okay, then I'll get you a hot chocolate.
Yes.
And it's just, it's kind of, Crowley ultimately is being nice to Gabriel in the hot chocolate moment because of his relationship with Aziraphale. And it's just played out in miniature here. And I really, really like that. Plus, we, as you say, we get a little bit more information, about what's happened to Gabriel.
Yeah, it's such
Only
a small amount, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Such a small amount.
I do like the descriptor, and again, this is written by Neil Gaiman, who's probably one of my favourite writers. He's got a very descriptive text about him, so I do like how Gabriel describes how he feels. He feels like an empty house that remembers where the furniture should be, but can't put it all back in the right place.
Can't organise it.
So I thought that was quite a good descriptor. But again, we don't know why. We don't know the reason behind it. Was God involved somehow in banishing him? Was Beelzebub involved in somehow getting rid of his memories? Or is this all Gabriel? Did Gabriel decide to do this for some reason?
Well, that's it. He says it hurts to remember. I don't have my memories, but then, we hear it's in the matchbox and then he put it in the box, but he kind of says it's everywhere. Like it's escaped into the ether of the world, of the universe, and he can't access it. So it's really kind of interesting, to be honest, because it almost sounds like, I guess, dementia in that sense. It's like, well, I kind of know things, but I just can't place them in time and space. Or, or they come and they go. Like we've seen through this series where he's gotten the purple eyes back and he's able to sort of communicate briefly before it kind of exhausts him.
Exactly. It's like he's able to focus on one specific piece of information and he's able to pull it out. But if he tries to focus on everything that he knows, his entire mind or his existence, his brain may explode.
And it's been triggered, So it's so well done and it's really kind of just, again, that little, very tiny bit of information.
Exactly. And it was one of the complaints that we had. Not really a complaint, but one of the things we'd mentioned, at least in the last couple of episodes, that you're kind of missing that thread a bit when they don't return to it and when we're not finding out much about how Gabriel got to this position here. But they have an opportunity in the next episode to really tell you that story of how Gabriel got here. But I'd even forgotten until you mentioned here that the big penalty for Aziraphale and Crowley for what they've done could be that they could be written out of the book of existence in both heaven and hell. That was the agreement that they've made for anybody who harbours Gabriel. Yeah,
and I mean, it'd be interesting to see how or if it's wrapped up in this final episode coming up.
I don't think it will be, but anyway.
No, I'm not too sure it will be either, because it does feel like we've kind of been brought along on the outskirts of everything that's been going on with Gabriel in order to flesh out more Aziraphale and Crowley, which has been excellent, and I've loved it. And there are rumours in the wind of the third season outline having already been done, so I guess it is leading to the third season.
You say rumours in the wind. Neil Gaiman says he's written the outline for the season. He hasn't written any episodes because there's a writer's strike going on.
Look, half the time these days, with getting screeners, with so much stuff on the interweb, you know, it's like, well, what you say or what's hard fact and what's not, you know? I mean, it's like the outline is there, but it could be that Prime doesn't pick it up. Exactly. And yes, Neil Gaiman can shop around because that's the contract he had. But again, so it's not certain. It's just there in the ether.
Exactly.
A bit like Gabriel's memories.
Well, absolutely. Considering Prime just cancelled 2 shows that were already confirmed for season 2 because of the writer strikes and actor strikes. We just aren't going to know until it's out there. We didn't think there was going to be a second season of this show.
That is true.
So let's see what happens next week, and let's see if we do get a third season to follow it up. But yes, apparently the third season will follow much more closely the outline that Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman had worked on for a potential second book or a second season of the show. This was setting things up. So I don't expect to get everything closed out in the next episode. But I think that's enough of Crowley confronting Jim. Will we move on to our third sign of the apocalypse this week?
Yes. Nina and Maggie dance through their relationship. And all the other traders do as well.
Absolutely.
Can I just give a shout out here? Because I loved Mrs. Sandwich, the brothel owner here.
Absolutely. The what owner?
The seamstress.
Seamstress.
Sorry, yes. The seamstress for the band of men lined up outside her establishment.
Oh, I loved her.
She was fantastic, and I just loved her flirting with Crowley as he's taking all the humans out to safety. I just really, really enjoyed her in this episode. Yeah. I mean, even with her sort of raised eyebrows and feigned indignation with Gabriel, whilst he, you know, sort of does the not so subtle masturbation joke with Mrs. Sandwich, with the owner of the magic shop and his partner, where he's kind of saying, I learnt it in bed last night, so let me show you.
Yes.
So yes,
Great
never
joke.
thought I'd be doing that on a podcast now, but nonetheless, it was just so good. I thought her expressions were absolutely pitch perfect.
Yes. So let's bring it back slightly to what Aziraphale has done here.
Sorry, I digress.
Yes, it was a great joke. That's why you wanted to get to it so quickly. But effectively, he set up a ball like a Jane Austen type ball because he's such a romantic. He reads so many romantic novels that he thinks this is definitely the way to get Nina and Maggie together. But of course, with doing that, he also wants to set up the people themselves to act in a way like they are out of Jane Austen novels.
Absolutely.
So this is why Mrs. Sandwich can't say that she is a sex worker. She has to say that she is a seamstress.
And that's why it's all so politely done.
Absolutely.
It is just so good.
Absolutely. Even those little jokes about sometimes we fix up a person's pants or and occasionally we'll sew on a new button if that's what they want. Great stuff in there. But everybody is acting as if they're out of a Jane Austen novel. Everybody's really polite. They're all very posh sounding in comparison to their normal ways.
The turn of phrase, exactly, is very 18th century.
Yes, and as people pass through the threshold of the shop, a lot of them change outfits as well into more appropriate gear for a ball, which I think was I thought was quite fun. It's interesting. Some characters didn't change their outfits. Some people did. That was quite interesting.
I just love as well to Nina and Maggie as they're dancing, talk about it, and Nina is kind of the one that's mostly sort of off center with everything that's happening.
Yes.
Where it's like, as they're dancing, do you remember learning the steps to this dance? It's like, this is bonkers.
Yes.
It's supposed to be a traders meeting. You know, I love that. Like, she's kind of that one person that's just kind of got this slight bit of doubt in the back of her mind.
Exactly.
And it was just really well done.
Yeah, yeah. And Maggie is still her usual supportive self. She's still doing things that Maggie would do, but she's not questioning the situation quite as much as Nina.
No.
So we do see that a little bit later on as we get to the final battle, I suppose, or the standoff, probably, rather than battle is a better word. But yeah, Nina is kind of wondering what the hell is going on in here. She does seem very happy. And we learned that is part of the charm, I guess, or the miracle, the mini miracle that Aziraphale has done here, that nobody can be unhappy at this ball. So you can't even think about it. You know, Nina has just come in from breaking up with her partner, or at least her partner broke up with her by text, or by chalkboard, actually, if you saw it in the scene there. And she walks into the party and is suddenly quite happy and quite. But
she says
satisfied.
again,
I was angry a minute ago.
She's off kilter. You know, she goes, "I'm upset, but I don't feel upset." You know, with what's just happened. Although she was, forced to go in there by Crowley because he can see that something is happening. Something is feeling out, and as
danger.
all the fog and mist. Hangs heavy in the air, which I absolutely loved as well, because, dare I say it, 19th century London, I guess you think of, pea supers coming in from the Thames, and that notion of Jack the Ripper, gas lamps and all that, where it'd all be a bit kind of spooky and eerie, with everything lit from gas lamps and so on.
Exactly.
So that was a nice kind of touch, I think.
Pea super was definitely a phrase took me ages to learn. It's just fog rolling in, basically. Yeah, but
well, it's because of all the
soup,
industry. It's exacerbated by. It's not just simply that it is a bad fog coming in, rolling through the estuary of the Thames, but it is that it's mixed in with all the soot from the chimneys.
You can't see through it, like looking through pea soup.
Yes.
Yeah. Very Hound of the Baskervilles, but I know that's on the moors. So rolling fog through the city is definitely, much more Jack the Ripper style London as well. And yeah, you're right. That's how Crowley pushes Nina to go into the bookshop.
Yeah.
When she's about to go home and drink a vat full of wine to drown her sorrows. I do like a little touch there with Maggie, where Crowley goes, "Or you monthly meetings on now?" And she goes, "I never miss them," and just walks across the road. So no issues with getting her along to the party. But they do have a conversation while they're having the dance, and Nina opens up about the fact that her partner just split up with her. She says she's very hard work, and Maggie says, "Well, I don't mind a bit of hard work." So there is a moment between the two of them now, finally. So maybe Aziraphale's plan might have worked if it hadn't been for the
pesky demons.
Mini horde of demons.
Yes, the mini horde of pesky demons, which you see kind of shuffling behind Maggie as she sort of races off to Aziraphale's shop. But I think too, our fourth sign of the apocalypse, which is the demons assemble to please send out your angle or you are toast. Toste.
Toste.
Yeah. I mean, Aziraphale has given it absolutely a great opportunity, but it may actually work by the fact of the demons, because, and we'll come to, the standoff that they have, but in the end, it is Nina and Maggie who choose to stay behind in the shop to help their fellow trader, Aziraphale.
Yes, it is.
But yes, this whole confrontation is just so good. I mean, as I say, I love them all shuffling in and the fog rolling in anyway, as this sort of lovely, warm, Jane Austen-esque ball is happening in this bookshop. Then you get the paving flag thrown through the window with, send out your angle. And I think as well, it's just, you have Crowley sort of just flippantly saying, yeah, they're not very good spellers. But again, I think this is where Shax is just brilliant as she's, as I said, channeling her inner Queenie to me. And she goes, well, if you don't send him out, you'll be toast, as they misspell it. So I really, with TOSTE, love that. I also like the fact that their miracle to conceal Gabriel has really put them between a rock and a hard place, because Shax knows that he's there from her deductions, but Jim now realizes it's them that they want.
Exactly.
And so goes out in a beautiful Liberace-style sort of feathery overcoat, which also looks very angelic. Great bit of costume design.
It's fantastic. Really is Liberace, though, isn't it?
Oh, it is, absolutely.
Exactly like some of the costumes he used to wear.
And Shax can't tell that it's Gabriel, which is just, perfect.
Absolutely. I love John Hamm here. He doesn't, there's a slight sadness about it as well, where he's kind of going, he's willing to sacrifice himself because he knows it must be him that they want.
But Shax is so dismissive. It's like, you're not who we're looking for. Like, go back in.
Exactly. Stop messing. Get inside. We want Gabriel, not you.
And then poor Mr. Brown follows up. I guess the former head of the association, or the current head. Certainly former now.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
And, of course, just gets pulled out as Shax is determining, well, is he over the threshold enough for us to... And he's getting ripped up off camera.
Well,
I guess.
yeah, interestingly, they do ask the question, is he okay? And Crowley just kind of says, well, nothing good is happening to him. So,
well, that's true. So he might still be alive.
He may still be alive with a very traumatic experience going on.
I do like the fact that the demons also had on face masks. So we have Shax saying... And those of you who can't blend in will be given masks, and you kind of feel, it could be something like a V for Vendetta type mask or something like that, but it's actually surgical masks like you saw in COVID.
Exactly.
Which was hilarious.
Absolutely. Since filming took place during and around that time, I would presume they had lots of them on hand and thought it'd be a great joke. But it is really funny when one of the demons takes off the surgical mask and you see it's tendrils dropping out from its mouth, certainly wouldn't be able to pass as a human in there. But I don't think they ever really pass for humans, even the other ones that could, because as they walk into Soho, as they walk up to Aziraphale's bookshop, they do seem like a horde of zombies coming towards them. I think anybody that would see them in the darkness would run away.
Well, that's it. Like, I actually, my mind was thrown back to the lady of the French restaurant, where she said, well, I can only stay till 7th because then it gets busy. And I was just thinking of all her clientele sort of stuck in the French restaurant with all these demons and all the fog rolling in. But this was, it was just that lovely kind of standoff here.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the things I did like about the standoff itself is it's caused by another lie from Crowley, which I absolutely loved. So we know Shax believes she can't cross the threshold of Aziraphale's because she stood outside. She didn't go in when she originally suspected that Gabriel was there. But here she is with her horde outside. Aziraphale tells them you can't come in because this shop is considered like an embassy of heaven, and she says, well, not anymore. You're not technically an angel anymore. He's not technically a demon, so this is no man's land. We will definitely be able to break in. And then quick thinking Crowley uses effectively the terms and conditions of a signed off war, saying that in these wars you can't actually have any human casualties unless they were predetermined. So you have to give them an opportunity to get out of here.
He just lists off the articles, the paragraph, subparagraph, because he knows that Shax isn't going to make sure that they're right or that he's right. But
we did see a contract that he got from God back in the Job episode, and we know how long those things are.
Right? But I just love how this kind of feeds into, that kind of idea of the great bureaucracy.
Exactly.
All these rules, to get into heaven, to get into hell, to get out of heaven, to get out of hell, to fall from heaven, whatever it is. There's all so much rules. And, it's, I think seen on X-Ray, nods to Terry Gillingham's Brazil, which has that element to it, this kind of and it's a huge, a sci-fi sort of dystopian future where everything is so rule bound. I love that they bring this in. And that's in a sense what Crowley's playing off here.
Exactly.
It is this notion that there are so many rules just to do anything in heaven and hell because they're kind of everything to do with existence, in that sense. And I just really, really like that.
Yeah, it's a good fun take, definitely.
Yeah.
Anything else about the standoff?
No, I think, as I say, as Crowley's leading them out in pairs, as I say, I think, again, Mrs. Sandwich and him just have a little flirt, which is really nice.
Of course. Great fun stuff. Our last side of the apocalypse then is Crowley going up to heaven at the end of the episode. Not a huge amount to say about this one. It's just how the episode ends, really. It's just with Crowley going up to Inspector Constable Muriel from heaven, who is standing by, not doing anything at all, as a horde of demons from hell has arrived in Soho. And she kind of is standing there taking notes effectively. And Crowley says to her, well, if you are a human police person, you have to arrest me and you have to take me to heaven. So she does, which I guess is a loophole for a demon to get into heaven because Muriel doesn't really know what she can and can't do.
No, exactly.
She seems to go very quickly with whatever anybody tells her.
Oh, and Crowley says, well, you're an angel. Like, he tells her, because she's then, well, am I being tricked? Are you tricking me? Because, it is this sort of beautiful naivety about her. I mean, even earlier in the episode, we see her up in heaven with Uriel and the Archangel Michael. And, they're asking how the investigation is going. And they are just so confused. And Muriel really isn't the best investigator. But again, there's just that wonderful little dynamic between Uriel and Michael as well. Just with they do have some person there. And it's like, does Aziraphale have? Yes, I know Aziraphale has a helper. And then Uriel's like, well, does he? I thought he was the bookseller. All this kind of stuff. But again,
as they try to piece together what happened with the miracle, effectively. But I do like how that all starts with Muriel saying to them, well, I'm observing the humans, because you know what humans are like, and repeats the words exactly as Crowley told her. And Michael responds with going, well, of course, we all knew that. So none of them want to be caught out here by their lack of knowledge of humans.
That whole exchange as well, just to reiterate the previous scene between Crowley and Gabriel starts being focused on the resurrectionist matchbox.
Yes.
That is still on there in heaven pulls back. So again, just to flag that, to remind the audience, from, I think it was episode 1 where they just found it.
Yeah, that's how we were introduced to Muriel.
And of course, all this shenanigans going on, by Crowley with Muriel, and you have Nina and Maggie staying behind in the bookshop to help Aziraphale, but Nina asking, can you not think for yourself? Why are you always letting him sort of do stuff for you? And Aziraphale, he says, well, I do make plans, but allowing Crowley to help makes Crowley so happy.
Exactly.
And so, again, I love how this show just these intimate moments, just sort of blended in with the bigger moments. It's not like, here's our romantic bit, here's our action bit. It's all just flow. It seems to flow so nicely.
Absolutely.
I just really loved it.
Yeah, really good moments there. I do like that Nina and Maggie staying behind is called staying behind to die bravely, because that's all that really is going to happen, right? How can you help an angel demon in a battle against demons from hell? You can just die bravely. That's all you can do. Good stuff. I think that's our major signs of the apocalypse. Any notes for the episode, John? Anything we haven't called out? There are a couple of little bits and pieces that happened that I'd love to talk about as well.
Yes, just to say that Mr. Arnold, who owns the music shop, does end up getting his 1965 proof copy of the Doctor Who annual, as he is going out from the bookshop led by Crowley in their 2x2.
Yes.
Also, I guess very biblical.
Absolutely.
But you see him holding onto that, as well as seeing the owner of the magic shop also with his copy of the book promised to him by Aziraphale as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice little nod there. Doctor Who is, of course, all over this series.
Yes.
Lots and lots of moments that we've talked about with Doctor Who references. In here, there's a great one, which I really enjoyed, which is David Tennant as Crowley picking up the Fez hat in the joke shop, putting it on his head and admiring himself in the crystal ball. Pretty much that's kind of one of Matt Smith's Doctor Who's character traits, wearing a fez all the time. But I know lots of doctors have worn fezzes in the past, but Matt Smith was the one that really came up with saying fezzes are cool. This is definitely a thing for me, and then losing the fez in every episode. So same thing happens here to David Tennant. He puts it on and loses it pretty quickly as Aziraphale takes it off him. So I like that touch. We mentioned Gabriel's Liberace-inspired coat in there. Mrs. Sandwich is a seamstress. That's actually our reference for this episode to Terry Pratchett, because Terry Pratchett used to use seamstress as a euphemism for sex work in the Discworld novels. Yeah, which I really like that they did that there as well. The Jane Austen-style ball. This is one that came to me after watching the episode, John. Don't know why it didn't come to me when I watched it first, but Aziraphale and Crowley talked all about Jane Austen back in episode 2.
Yes.
And Crowley was really surprised about the fact that Jane Austen was a writer and used to hold loads of balls, effectively. He had no idea of this other side of her life because he thought she was just a super spy, which is a great joke in itself. But Aziraphale and Crowley had specifically talked about the balls she used to throw. So this time, Aziraphale is throwing a Jane Austen-style ball to get the two lovers together.
It's interesting, isn't it? Hollywood did produce Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, a movie. Mm-hmm. I'm just there thinking, I'm absolutely convinced that Neil Gaiman could do a treatment of Jane Austen super spy.
Yes.
As a movie, just because Neil Gaiman has this great way of taking well-known tales, fables, bits of history,
absolutely,
and just turning them inside out, upside down, morphing them into something familiar, similar, but different in terms of their context or how, the background and all that. And you could just see Jane Austen, super spy.
Absolutely. I wonder if we could see it on Doctor Who. You could have the next Doctor, Ngugi Gatwa, going back to Jane Austen's time and running around with her as a super spy. Maybe Neil Gaiman's just setting that up for the future as well. They did also have Pride, Prejudice and Zombies, which I think starred Matt Smith in the movie adaptation.
Yes,
so lots of connections here. I thought that's what you were going for when you went for Abraham Lincoln, a Vampire Hunter. But there you go. That was a Jane Austen connection for me, for a horror movie. Good stuff. Any other notes? Anything else we need to talk about?
Not from my side, no.
Good stuff. Then overall, John, what did you think of episode 5 of Good Omens season 2, The Ball?
I absolutely loved this. I'd give this 5/75 of a Legion out of 5.
Very good.
I really, really just loved it.
If someone does the maths on that and comes up with less than 5 out of 5.
No, it is. Okay. I've not worked anything out around that. It's just because it's got a 5 on it. It was just... This, to me, was probably one of the best episodes. I think, just because it was more focused on them for one aspect. But the opening of having Shax doing her preparations for storming the bookshop and Aziraphale doing his preparations for the Whickber Street Traders and Shopkeepers Association monthly meeting, getting that little bit of information from Gabriel, it's just all these little relationships were just so well done. The ball, just all the little parts, whether it's Mrs. Sandwich, whether it's Mr. Arnold, whoever it might be, so good. The confrontation, having, Crowley go off, having been sort of just bitten by Nina, where she asks about, what is his relationship with Aziraphale, and,
she doesn't even ask. She knows.
She knows, but also,
Crowley doesn't know.
You see him, you see him thinking about it, and it sort of coming to that point of going to Muriel in order to get himself taken up to heaven to stop what's going on, or what I think he's doing, which is to stop the demons from taking out Aziraphale, however that's going to play out.
Yeah. And of course, to stop Aziraphale from being written out of the history books, effectively, of the books of existence.
So I just really enjoyed all of this episode. Yeah. So 575th of a Legion out of 5.
Very good. Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is a really good episode. Again, if your maths doesn't work, it's 5 out of 5 that you're giving it.
It certainly is.
Yeah, I do like that moment as well, because you kind of need to have a moment where Crowley finds out that Aziraphale and he are together, and everybody believes they are, because that's what everybody's been watching for the last 2 seasons, right? That these two characters getting together in their relationship, and how strong a bond it is. You called out one of my favourite lines in the episode with Aziraphale going, "Of course I have a plan, but him saving me makes sure that it makes him happy and keeps him satisfied." So they're both doing things,
and it makes Aziraphale happy that he's happy. Exactly. So it's all
it's really good. But overall, this episode has loads going on, and great performances in here, great comedy moments in here as well. So really enjoyed The Ball as an episode overall. Really hoping it sticks the landing for the final episode of this season. And I'm not expecting the story to wrap up next week. That's what I'm going into with. Is it not wrapping up at the end of this season? Even though season 1 wrapped up with a nice, neat little bow at the end of the first season, I feel that we're not going to get the same neat little bow. We probably have had much more of Gabriel during the season if it was expected to wrap up next week. That's what I think. But again, we could have a whole episode starting out telling us how Gabriel got to the position he's in right now, and filling in all the blanks. But be interesting to see how it goes next week. Good stuff. Let's go on to a bit of feedback from our wonderful fellow acolytes.
Indeed. Over on our Twitter account at TVPod Industries, Roni says, "Hi Derek and John, I love your Good Omens takes. I always rewatch the episode afterwards and look out for the details you mentioned. I have a question about the phrase you address the listeners. I'm not a native speaker. Fellow accolades, what I kind of hear is surely not right. Thank you for your help with this." Thank you so much, Roni. So I am saying fellow acolytes, which are kind of followers of Christ, or, an acolyte is someone who reveres their leader and so on. I guess it's tied up with acolytes of Jesus and acolytes of the devil even. So
generally it would be in a religious ceremony. They would be the servants that would help in the ceremony, but they're more they are tied into the belief system as well. Yes,
so devotees,
so they don't necessarily have to be religious. So in this case, we're saying, or you're saying that the acolytes are acolytes of Good Omens, fans of Good Omens, who love it loads. So that's where it came from. Thanks so much, Roddy, for getting in contact with us. And thanks to a couple of people over on Twitter who got in contact with us. Loads of Good Omens fans who are rewatching this second season and are finally catching up with our podcast and seeing our podcast. So great to get your thoughts and great to hear from you over there on Twitter.
Good stuff. Thanks, Roni. I hope we clarified for you.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. And keep on listening as well. Thanks so much, Roni. Yeah. We did say at the beginning of the season that we were going to call the feedback section the "You Were Wrong" section.
Yes.
Yeah, based on, obviously, the first episode. We did get an email in from Jules, who sent a message through podcastica.com. Jules says, "Hi, I'm from Belgium, and I have noticed a little mistake in your podcast. You referred to Lord Beelzebub as she, her, but throughout the series, it's clear they are a genderless being and use they, them pronouns. You'll see in the finale. Just wanted to update you guys on this. Keep doing what you do. Love your podcast, Jules."
Thanks so much, Jules, for that and for pointing out our mistake. Yes, just didn't get it quite right there with Lord Beelzebub.
But we're not watching ahead, of course,
no,
and
that is true.
It's really clear in the episodes that that we probably should have been using they them pronouns for the character and for a number of other characters in the show. They're very clear on that. Themselves. So we should have been clear on that, just because to prove even two gay guys doing a podcast about the show, we can occasionally get the wrong pronouns. But of course, didn't mean to misgender anybody in the show itself.
But thank you as well for following on with the podcast. Absolutely. As well. Glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah. So in your honour, Jules, we will play the sound of this episode.
You were right. You were right. I was wrong. You were right.
And if anybody else catches all the other things that we do wrong throughout the episode, please email us into feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. We'd love to catch some of the things that we said incorrectly. But of course, as we said, we haven't seen the finale yet. So thanks for keeping the spoilers out of your email, Jules, as well.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jules. Also, we got an email in on episode 4 from Coffee and Vodka. Greetings, fellow Angel following defenders. As usual, all of the smooth we've come to expect, although I must admit to becoming a bit befuddled by the minisode format. Keeps taking me back to the Watchmen tales of the Black Freighter and trying to find some bearing on the contemporary storyline that may or may not be there. I'm a bit unused to homework as part of the entertainment. The callback to season 1 with the zombies was a nice touch, and the miracle blocked bullet catch offered a nice bit of tension. Aziraphale's failed and successful sleight of hand was fun. All in all, another winner, if a bit filler feeling this time around. 4 undead underlings, miraculous Glock blockers, and pilfered picks out of 5. Peace and take care, Coffee and Vodka. I love the miraculous Glock blockers.
That's very impressive. Yes.
I might use that phrase this weekend when we're in Manchester.
I like it. I like it. Good stuff. Thanks, Coffee Vodka. I know you didn't get the chance to send in this before we'd put together our episode 4 feedback, but thanks so much for sending that in. I know that episode did feel a bit out. It felt more mini-sode than main content for the storyline, but we knew these last 2 episodes, as we mentioned on the podcast, the last 2 episodes don't have minisodes. Yeah. They're focused on the main story. So we're getting back there. It did go off into the zombie storyline much more, but there were a few things. I hope you called it on the podcast. A few things that were in there that led to, I guess, the Aziraphale Crowley relationship a bit more within the minisode, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, Coffee Vodka. Over on Facebook, Barbie Pamela says, episode 5 and the Job minisode are my favourite of the season. Can we say John Hamm is the VIP of the season so far? He is embracing his after Mad Men roles with a joy and energy like no other. Hashtag himbo era, and is closing this episode vibing off of Elton John's Rocket Man. Oh, there's another reference.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I feel like Elton John was vibing off Liberace when he did them. It's probably because we're old enough to remember Liberace.
Well, I'm not really.
You are.
I'm not.
You would remember
mainly
Liberace.
From. Well, I knew he was a pianist.
Yes.
But it's mainly from the movie with Michael Douglas and
Matt Damon.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I would have known him anyway. Okay, I'm 1 whole year older than you, John, so...
I'm liking the idea that John Hamm is a himbo, though.
He's going through his himbo era. I like that a lot. Yeah, very serious in Mad Men, but I remember hearing a podcast with him a couple of years ago where he just came across as the funniest guy, and just a guy that you'd really like to hang out with. You know, he kind of fell into the Mad Men trapping at some point, but it's not the one. That's not the only type of character he wants to play, and he seems to have stretched his wings quite a lot over the years since doing Mad Men, which is great.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Barbie. Also on episode 5, Dr. Bob Phillips says, "Oh, they are back." This struck me just where episodes 1 to 3 did. Almost every minute had something else which tickled me perfectly. Loved the Doctor Who nerdery, annual fairs, nod in the looks of the lift and the way the doors opened, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yes.
The fluency in everything but French. Nina's blunt observation of the romance of ages. Absolutely adored the knock-at. We didn't learn the steps to this dance at the ball. The seamstress with Miss Chung's fan. A well-made John Hamm, and the well-deserved destruction of Mr. Clipboard.
Ah, yes, very good.
Yes, poor Mr. Brown.
Poor Mr. Brown.
May his clipboard live long in the memory of the traders and shopkeepers of Whickber Street.
There you go.
Bob Phillips continues, I'm now thinking we should be considering if the Fly is the memory chip of the Archangel, but not sure we saw it this episode. I have the same kind of theory, Dr. Bob.
Yeah.
So let's see where it buzzes to, I guess.
Absolutely. We've got about 15 more minutes before we get to see the finale. So we will find out. Good stuff. Thanks so much, Dr. Bob, for your thoughts. I love your catch on the elevator or the lift, how the doors opened, and that kind of nodding to the TARDIS from Doctor Who. I think that's probably fairly likely as well.
And it's also, You have now reached level Earth, or however it sort of came across on the lift's internal announcement.
Yes, it seemed very like Mind the Gap
Yes.
from London Underground
Exactly.
as well, didn't it? Yes. Good stuff. Thanks, Dr. Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Bob.
Back on email from Coffee and Vodka, we received his thoughts about episode 5. He says, "Greetings, fellow Whickber Street Traders and Shopkeepers Association defenders. There's something about a show where no one performer makes it great, but every single character, even the bit players, like the demon doing the Monty Python routine at the pre-invasion pep rally, helped make the episode as great. The Bull, Bespelled Traders, Nina and Maggie's initial bonding, unrecognised Jim, and an over-the-top Shax fronting a legion of 99 demons, all made for a bit of theatrical fun. I do hope that the final episode clears up the overarching mysteries of Gabriel's situation and his implied Armageddon prophecy, as the only thing missing for the show thus far has been a solid plot. 5 matchbox memories, replaced dysfunctional relationships, and unsurrendered angles out of 5. Peace and take care, Coffee and Vodka." You know, every time I read angel or angle, I'm trying to correct myself to the opposite, whatever way it's written. Good thoughts there, though, Coffee and Vodka. I particularly like your line that the only thing missing from this show so far has been a solid plot, and the fact that you've given almost every episode a 5 out of 5 throughout your feedback to us, because it has been so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
As I said, we did make a comment more than anything else about, I wonder where this is going. I wonder what's happening with Gabriel, because he'd been so absent, other than an occasional minute here or a minute there in some episodes. But it's been so much fun spending time with these characters in this world with how Gaiman and Finnemore have written the episode so far. But it is nice to have an episode that's a bit more focused on just the main plot here, and hopefully the finale will do the same.
Absolutely.
Believe it will.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka. We also got some feedback through from Laura Willie Swink over on Facebook. They go, "Derek and John, my daughter and I are finally on our Good Omens journey and are currently up to episode 3. Even though we're not taking it week by week like you two are, she does want to savour all 6 delicious episodes we have this season. So we're watching 1 episode each weeknight, but I do hope we'll have caught up by the time you get to the finale so that I can send in my final thoughts. I did, however, get through your episode 3 coverage and will say that I agree with you, Derek. As much as I love our favourite heavenly and hellish duo in Aziraphale and Crowley, I really miss a lot of the human drama we got in season 1. I'd love to know how things are going 4 years on for the them, Anathema, and Newton and Madame Tracy and Witchfinder Sergeant Shadwell. Their stories brought such humour and colour to the Good Omens tapestry, and with only Nina and Maggie as our ongoing human characters, I really do feel that absence. I am, however, loving the very quirky British humour, and I'm getting strongly Monty Python and Life of Brian feels, especially in episode 2, with Gaiman's take on the Book of Job. I loved Aziraphale's confiscation of the Bentley and Crowley tripping balls on laudanum in 19th century Edinburgh. Also, did you catch Nessie in the animated scene when Aziraphale drives into Scotland? Because I missed it, but my eagle-eyed daughter pointed it out to me. How did you miss Nessie, Laura? But yes,
he was surrounded by kilts,
kilts
representing the mountains of Scotland as they enter. Yeah, very cool.
Which, of course, is exactly what it's like when you cross over into Scotland.
Yes, isn't it, Lucy? I know you're listening, Lucy.
And of course, everyone is getting married as well at the border, or as the tale goes. Can't remember the name of the town now, but there's a famous place where people would go and get married.
Right on the border of Scotland. Yeah. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Good stuff. Thanks so much for your thoughts, Lara. I can't wait for you to finish off the season as well. I know you're enjoying it like ourselves as well. I don't know. I said it back in episode 3. I'm not going to repeat myself, but you're right. There is just that missing element of the them. There's such a central set of characters in the novel. Of course, you can't have Adam back. Their story is all ended at the end of the first book, but it would be nice to have a little reference to them or to just see them in this season, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, I think so. I do agree in some sense. It would be nice to know what that group are doing.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you never know, maybe somewhere they'll pop up at some point.
In that last episode, maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm not expecting it, but maybe if we get a season 3, they might pop up in that.
I guess at the end of season 1, they did all get a happily ever after, so kind of difficult to unroll their happily ever after, isn't it? So that's probably why they haven't revisited them. But it'd be nice to see them.
Yes, definitely.
Good stuff. And also, it'd be lovely to hear your final thoughts. We have one more episode to go, of course, as we said, Lara. So hopefully we'll hear your thoughts next week then.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Lara.
Thanks, Lara. And thanks to your daughter as well.
Yes, absolutely. Glad she's enjoying it.
Exactly. We have one last bit of feedback in from another listener who's caught up to us. Anwen from New Zealand has left us a voicemail with her thoughts up to season 2, episode 5.
Hi, Derek and John. I did it. I caught up. Yay! It's so good. I love this show so much. And episode 5 was fantastic. I really love the penultimate episode of most shows, the excitement and the setup for the finale. So I can't wait to see what happens next week. One of the great things about never having seen Good Omens, but watching it really recently, was that we were able to just go straight from season 1 into season 2 without a break. So we pretty much watched all 2 seasons over the last kind of 3 weeks. So much fun. You definitely notice the difference between the first and the second season. Lots of great characters that are the same, but one thing that I did find a little bit confusing was characters from the first season coming back, or actors coming back as different characters. As much as I adore Miranda Richardson, going all the way back to Queenie and Blackadder, I was confused when she showed up as a different character, and I thought, hang on, wait, is she the same character from season 1 but she's now turned evil? And it's taken me a while to kind of get used to it, but I do love her character, and she's just really funny to watch. Love the Jane Austen theme. I love Jane Austen. I've read all the books, I've seen all the adaptations, and when 2 worlds collide, I just love it so much. It's like Pride and Prejudice and zombies, and the way they're all talking to each other and dancing and having those little discussions is really cute to watch. I do think Aziraphale is a little different this season. I felt like he was very sort of proper in the first season, and in this season he's a little bit more, I mean, he's still very proper, so I don't want to say flirty, but he's kind of a little bit more coy, and I really like seeing the relationship pan out with him and Crowley. What else? It's just so good. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm loving the podcast as well. Can't wait to see the finale next week with everybody. And thanks so much for all that you do. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Olwen. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd been so long ago I hadn't really spotted the actors coming from and changing characters from season 1 to season 2, apart from Miranda Richardson, because like you, I absolutely think she's fantastic. Yes. And again, sort of finding Miranda Richardson as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old watching through the Blackadders and going back to Blackadder 2 was great. She's just fantastic. Absolutely. As Queenie. Coupled with the sidekick Nursey, is just so good.
Absolutely.
So really glad you're enjoying her in this, because I thought this was her episode, actually.
Without a doubt,
it was really, really good.
Without a doubt, episode 5 is fantastic, but I love the idea that everyone came in wondering whether Madame Tracy had become a demon from hell, because I totally get it. Like, you're literally going from episode 6, where she has her final moment with the Witchfinder General, and they get together, and then the start of episode 1 of season 2, there she is sitting beside Crowley, same actress, so yeah, did she go evil? But no explanation given, of course, other than she's just playing another role, just like Nina and Maggie are playing new roles in this season as well. But really great to hear your thoughts on it. I'm glad you're enjoying it as much as we are. It's just been such a fun show this season. I wonder if Aziraphale is just a little bit more coy because maybe he's realised his love for Crowley a bit more in this season. than he had seen in the last season. You know, we as fans watching the show, I know the big reason we use ineffable fiancés in this episode is because fans watching the first season saw them as the ineffable husbands. So now in this season, that's been brought much more to the front. I know Neil Gaiman always found it very funny that people didn't see that in the books as much as they're seeing it within the show. He always intended that there was that relationship between the two of them. So perhaps they're kind of highlighting a bit more that he's a bit more coy around Crowley than he was in the first season. Maybe that's what's coming through.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he's just pulling it through, and I think it's the development as well of their relationship. And I think it's one of the main thrusts of this season. Absolutely. Is seeing that relationship over time, you know, like with the episode with Job, and seeing how they've both influenced and affected each other into the different shades of grey. Mm-hmm.
Like grey and slightly darker grey. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Great to hear from you, Alan. Hopefully you'll get to hear your thoughts at the end of season 2 of Good Omens as well.
Yes, good stuff. Thanks, Armin. Keep those comments coming in for the final chapter 6 of Good Omens season 2, entitled Every Day, which we will be back with next time.
Yes, we'll be back next week with the final episode. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, please remember that you can subscribe on any godly or devilish podcast player over at tvpodcastindustries.com. We are, of course, over on patreon.com/TV Podcast Industries or buymeacoffee.com/TVPI. And of course, you can also share the podcast as well, because sharing the podcast is, of course, sharing the love.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Speaking of sharing the love, thanks so much to those of you who've commented on us calling out that we are ineffable fiancés on the show. We don't have a date for the wedding, because I did get a couple of people who asked that question. We have been engaged for 9 years, though.
Yes.
Haven't we, John?
It's the ineffable, eternal
absolutely
engagement.
Yes, if Crowley and Aziraphale can be together from before the beginning, we can eventually get married at some point in the future, right?
Yes. We need to jot it into the diary.
We do.
And stop spending money on other stuff.
It will not be billions of years before we get married, I promise you that. But I also want to say a huge thank you once again to Jason Gavassi and Podcastica.com. Check them out for other podcasts, such as the White Lotus podcast, which has been lots and lots of fun, their coverage of that season. There's the theme. Yeah, pretty much. That's the theme of the podcast too. It's pretty good. John didn't do it. That was Randy that did that version, just in case.
I didn't do it.
He didn't do it. But you can also check out their White Lotus podcast over on podcastica.com, or check out Run for Your Lives with Daphne and Paik, which covers movies that would make you run for your life. Last week, as we're recording, they recorded their thoughts on Bird Box Barcelona, which I haven't actually seen yet. It's the sequel to the Sandra Bullock starring Bird Box on Netflix. Yep.
Yeah, no, haven't seen that either. 3 Bs though, very good.
Bird Box Barcelona, yeah.
Yes.
I guess they're going to Brazil next, and then to Berlin, and to Brussels maybe.
Brussels, yeah. Birmingham.
Birmingham, Bird Box Birmingham. There's one I want to see, definitely.
Yes.
Good stuff. But you can check all that out over on podcastica.com. We will be back next week, as John mentioned, with the finale of Good Omens Season 2.
Yes.
We will see you then.
Yes, thank you so much, fellow acolytes, for joining us for Chapter 5 of Good Omens. Until the finale next week. Mm-hmm. Remember, keep watching, keep listening, and keep praying. And of course, the apocalypse is coming. So grab your hard hat, Christina Jones.